this is Jennifer Stay from Coloring Pages Bliss, and this is video 1 of my new video series that I'm calling Color Like a Pro. And I'm hoping that through this video series I can help you to learn some new techniques and get excited and inspired with your coloring so that you will color more often and have a more blissful experience while you do it. My series is going to have 8 videos in it. This first one we're going to talk about coloring tools, and I'm going to get you excited and inspired about all the fun tools you can use. And in the other videos we're going to cover things like choosing your colors and some basic techniques that you can use for coloring so that your finished results will look a little bit more professional. And just basically what I do to color so that I have a really blissful experience when I color, and then when I have my finished product I feel really proud of it and I want to share it. I'm hoping this series will be beneficial for everyone, whether you're a beginner, intermediate, or already a professional. Hopefully there'll be things in it for everyone. I'm really excited about the series because I feel like people don't give themselves enough credit with their coloring, and it doesn't really matter what level you're on because you can grow on that level and really enjoy yourself. Being creative is really important and we should be doing it every single day. So let's get it started by talking about the tools we use. Most of us get started in our lives with crayons, basic crayons in kindergarten. If you've ever watched a bunch of kids color, it is really fun to watch little kids color. You give them a big bucket of crayons and they just go for it. Children are fearless with crayons. They just color. They don't hold back. They don't care what color they pick. It's really fun to watch them color trees and anything. People, they just pick whatever color inspires them and they go for it. Adults, as they get older, they lose that passion. They just start worrying about whether the tree is the right color green or whether the face is the right skin tone. And it really slows us down, slows our process down, and really takes the bliss, I think, out of coloring, because we get stuck the first second we sit down because we can't even pick a color. It's sort of ridiculous. But when you watch children color, they don't get caught up even at the very first step. They just dive right in and start picking colors. And in fact, it's the opposite problem. They almost use too many colors. And so to me, when you watch kids color, it's true bliss. They really enjoy themselves. That's why they can get lost in it and they get upset when you take their crayons away because they just want to keep on coloring. So most of us have crayons sitting around. These are totally acceptable coloring tools. If this is all you have, pull them out and use them. There are a lot of techniques you can do with crayons. Most sets, even just a basic set like this, you can pick these up around back to school time for like $1/4 or less. Most sets come with enough variety of shades that you can come in with different techniques and get variations in tone, and you can come and do some pretty neat coloring effects. So don't be afraid to just use crayons and do your coloring that way. Sit down with your kids or your grandkids and color with your crayons. You don't need anything fancy. So crayons are a great tool to use. The next tool that most of us have been exposed to, of course, are pencil crayons. Pencil crayons are one of my most favorites. So I have a lot of sets of pencil crayons. This is a really huge set. I think this is by cra-z-art here. I picked this set up because I wanted to have as many color options as possible, as many shades as possible. And this set was really good. In fact, I think I picked up additional sets that had a neon, and there was even I think a metallic set that I picked up to add to this set. And this is a really fun set. Now that I've upgraded to more expensive sets, and I'll show those to you in a second, this set has become my set that I pull out and I share with my nieces and nephews when they come around, so that I don't have to worry so much about taking care of the tips or whether they drop them. I don't have to cringe and worry about it. But these, again, if all you have or all you can afford are the inexpensive pencil crayons, don't feel like you can't come up with a quality product. because even these you can still come up with good tones and shading and do different things with. So you can still do a lot of fun coloring here. The reason I upgraded from like a cra-z-art brand is because I do have chronic pain. My hands ache a lot, and when you have to use these kinds of brands, I found I had to push pretty hard to get these deeper tones, and I would find my hands cramping up and hurting, and I couldn't color for the length of time I wanted to. And so it was actually decreasing my bliss, because I was, at the end, I was in pain. And so I did my research, and I found out the Prismacolor brand was a really soft core brand, and most people online were saying that they were really buttery and smooth and easy to work with. So I went and I picked up the Scholar line of Prismacolor to play with first, because it was less expensive. And most art lines, they'll do a Scholar line first, so it's like a step down from the artist line. You'll have a Scholar line, which is just like a student line, but it'll give you a chance to try their product. You can see when you use it, I wish you could feel these because it's a totally different experience from the cra-z-art or a Crayola. You get, it really is kind of a buttery feeling. And so I can color for a lot longer. I can use a lot less pressure to get these deep tones. I get a much more blissful experience, and I was so happy with these. And then I started reading online again to find out, is the artist brand really worth it? Should I go invest a lot more money on the artist brand? And everybody was raving about the artist brand, and so I did. I saved up my money and I ended up investing in the artist brand. And there's a video where I talk about how I take care of my artist brand. These are Prismacolor Premiers, and how I take care of them. And I love these pencils. So as you're trying out tools, that's how I suggest you progress through your tools. If you find you love pencil crayons and you want to invest, try going up to a Scholar brand or the student grade. And then if you like that, then go ahead and upgrade to the artist grade. That way you know you'll be happy with it once you invest your money in it. Of course, I've read a lot online about the different lines of pencil crayon, and so I recently picked up a 12 set of the Faber-Castell, because you hear a lot about these polychromos and how wonderful they are, and it's a huge debate online whether Prismacolors are better than the polychromos. And so I've picked up a 12 set of the polychromos, and I'm really excited to play with these. But I didn't want to pick up the full set until I had played with the 12 set. And so that's another way to do it, kind of more in your budget, is to pick up these little 12 sets first. And then if I love them, I'll just carry these in my purse. This little 12 set will be perfect for carrying around in my purse. So pencil crayons are great media. There's lots of things you can do with blending, and there's tons of things you can do with them. So, and I'll be talking more about pencil crayons as we go along in my other videos in this Color Like a Pro series. So pencil crayons are a great option. Lots of professionals use them in their art. Another thing that I love to play with is markers, of course. And most of us start out with the basic Crayola or cra-z-art brand markers. These are what are found in most classrooms. This is a cra-z-art brand here, and this is Crayola. And I really actually enjoy these. These are water-based. These are really fun to play with. I've got these bundled in tones, a light, medium, and dark right now, and they're quite fun to play with, but they have their downfalls. They leave streaks because they're water-based. They're really wet, so if your paper isn't heavy enough, it will cause your paper to ball up and destroy your paper, and it can bleed through. Not as much as the other kinds of markers that I'm going to show here in a second. But you can do other tricks and fun techniques with watercolored markers. Hint, hint, look, because soon I will be coming up with a video all dedicated to water-based markers. But I really love the way water-based markers go on the paper. They're really fun to play with, and they're inexpensive. Again, around back to school time, you can pick up sets. I think I picked up sets of 10 of these markers here for 50 cents just recently. And because they're so inexpensive, you can just really experiment with them and not worry so much about ruining the tips, and you can do all kinds of things with them and enjoy them. And again, I like hanging on to a set of markers that I can hand over to nieces and nephews and not feel so precious about. And because I knew I really was enjoying the water-based markers, I went ahead and did a bunch of research and investigated what kind of water-based markers I wanted to invest in as an artist, and I ended up investing in a set of Tombows. Well, it's not a full set. I've just been buying individual markers, and I've been really enjoying the Tombows. I plan on learning some calligraphy with the felt tip markers, and so that's my progression through markers as well. Again, I started with the really inexpensive until I found the markers that I enjoyed, and I picked a line I wanted to do, and I've started investing in them. So markers are really fun. That's water-based markers. Of course, there are the alcohol-based markers, which act and perform totally different from the water-based markers. The alcohol-based markers, most of us are familiar with your Sharpie markers. And these ones are notorious for bleeding, but they leave such beautiful, bold colors, and you can do a lot of really neat things with your Sharpie markers as well. And Bic has a really pretty line too of markers that I've been having fun playing with. I have a set of those that I keep in my purse that I've been experimenting with when I'm out and about. And then also in the alcohol-based family, they've been coming out with really pretty metallics. And I haven't played with these in a while, so I'm curious to see how... Oh yeah, they're doing really good, which is impressive to me. These haven't been opened in a long time, and they're still nice and juicy. So these metallics are really neat. Let me move them a bit in the lighting so you can see them. So that's another really fun marker to use, are your alcohol-based markers. So I have a whole bunch of Sharpies, and I have a whole bunch of the Crayolas, and in my art studio here I have some drawers, and I've got them sorted by color, and then when I sit down to do marker coloring, I can pull out those drawers and they're sorted by color, and I can pull out what I want and go for it. Typically, with this kind of markers, I mix water and alcohol in a coloring page, unless I'm doing some blending, and then that's when I pull out my Tombows and I use my blending markers and do some fun effects there, which I will be doing a tutorial video on that someday soon. So keep an eye on for that. So make sure you subscribe to this channel so you don't miss out on those tutorials. So, you know, those are your basic three that you see most people coloring with right now. Crayon, pencil crayon, or colored pencil, depends on where you're from, what you call it, and your markers. Now, the latest thing that everybody's picking up, of course, are your gel pens. And I am a huge fan for gel pens. These are really, really fun, and I've been experimenting a lot with them, learning a lot. I've been researching the different manufacturers and learning about which brands, how they work, how they're made, why some of them are working better than others. And I'm getting stronger and stronger opinions about these. because some of them just aren't working that great. I'm getting really good at learning that we're not using them to their full potential yet. And so I've come up with a couple of videos that I've already filmed, and I'm in the process of editing and getting uploaded to my channel, so look for those on how I use them to blend and make pretty gradients and blending effects. So take a look on my channel here for those, and I'll be doing more videos on blending. Gel pens are water-based as well, so they smear and they do all kinds of fun things. So don't be afraid of these gel pens. Get them out and play around with them and see what you can do with gel pens. Another thing that I've been seeing people use, which I've invested in a set of, are these water-soluble colored pencils. Again, I did the same thing here. I purchased an inexpensive set at my craft store, and then I was really disappointed with the quality, and so I fell back on my favorite brand, Prismacolor, and picked up their line of water-soluble colored pencils, and I love it. If you haven't tried water-soluble colored pencils yet, they are really, really fun. Basically, you color them out just like a colored pencil. In fact, you can use them just like colored pencils, but the full potential is when you hit them with a brush with some water on it, and then they blend out into these beautiful smooth colors. So I haven't experimented enough with them yet, and I can't wait to play even more with them. And again, I plan on doing a tutorial video for you on them as I learn more how to control the color with the watercolor pencils. Really, really fun. And again, because it's water-based, you have to be really cautious of what paper you're using and how heavy your paper is, because it is a really wet media. But I even have a little tip and trick for that, so look forward to that here on my channel. Here is a set of Winsor & Newton watercolor paint. I've actually done some coloring in my coloring book with watercolor paint. It had to be really, really careful because it gets really wet. But you can pick up watercolor paints. Again, you can do a really inexpensive like Crayola or cra-z-art, and then you can pick up a student grade, and then there's artist grade, and all kinds of different brands, and experiment around with watercolors. So I've kind of been doing a lot of investing right now in watercolor paints because I've really enjoyed them, and I have some tips and tricks on that as well coming soon on this channel, because these are really, really fun, and I'm getting really neat effects, and I can't wait to apply it to coloring pages in our books, because it's beautiful, and we should be using these more often. So paints are really versatile. Now, another thing that people are using, which I've used and I'm excited to show you and teach you about, are pastels. These are chalk pastels here that I picked up, really inexpensive. I haven't invested in the next quality up yet. Still playing around with the most inexpensive set I could find, but I'm quite happy with the inexpensive set, so I can only imagine how exciting and colorful the more expensive sets are going to be. But you can do some coloring with the chalk pastels, you can do background effects and all kinds of neat things with chalk pastels. Of course, they're quite messy, but you know, I don't care about getting messy when I'm doing art. In fact, I love getting messy when I'm doing art. So you can check out your chalk pastels. Another thing that people are using are cosmetics. They hit the dollar stores and they pick up inexpensive eyeshadows and blushes and nail polishes, and you can do all kinds of really neat things with that, and you can get background effects and actually color with these cosmetics. And so don't be afraid of hitting your cosmetic department and seeing what you can find that inspires you to color with there. Another thing I've seen people using are inks, your ink pads that you use for scrapbooking or for making your cards. Pull those out. I've seen people use sponges and color with the ink pads. I've also thought about using them for textures, and we'll talk about that. I think it's on video number 4 in this series. I'm going to pull out my inks again and show you my idea, so if you're excited about your ink pads and want to find a new way to use those, check out video 4 when that one comes out. And another thing which was really interesting to me, I recently saw someone using their fancy tapes, their washi tapes, to create backgrounds and textures. So I may touch a little bit on that on video number 4 as well. We'll see how long that video gets, because I've got a lot of ideas for number 4. But they use the washi tapes. They cut off a piece of washi tape and lay it out just to the right shape and size of the background, and it becomes these beautiful textures and background patterns using their spare washi tape, and it makes a really pretty background. So pretty much anything you can find in your craft stash that has a little bit of color or sparkle can be used for coloring. It can make a flat coloring page turn into something that looks like a pro did it. So I encourage you to dig into your old stash, see what you've got, mix them up, layer them up. That's what the professionals do. I have a favorite artist. Let's see, I wrote her name down if I can find it here. Her name is Kendall Hillegas, I think is how you say her name, or Hilgas. Sorry, Kendall, if I got your last name totally ruined. Anyway, she does the most amazing illustrations of food, and she mixes her tools. I believe most of the time she starts with water-soluble colored pencils, and she lays a layer of that down, and then she goes to her colored pencils, and then sometimes she hits her watercolors, and then she goes to markers, and she layers them up like in the most amazing ways, and she can make her illustrations look so beautiful, like they look just like a piece of apple pie or just like a strawberry meringue. They're just beautiful. You could check out her YouTube channel. I'll put a link below, and you can see the kinds of illustrations she does. She has a really good demonstration on how she does her blending techniques to get her effects, but she mixes her media, and that's how she gets such beautiful illustrations. So please don't be afraid. Pretend that you are 6 years old again and someone has given you all these tools, and you can just sit down and play. Be inspired by them. Don't be afraid of them. Get messy. Get the pastels on your hands and the inks on your hands, and just see where it leads you. And I promise you that you will have a blissful experience, and even if the project doesn't turn out to be perfect, you're going to learn a lot, and the next coloring project you do will be more professional than the last one because of all the things that you learned. Thank you for joining me on video 1. Please subscribe to my channel and follow me on Facebook, and check out video number 2 where I'm going to be talking about choosing your colors so that you can color more like a pro. Again, my name is Jennifer. Stay for Coloring Pages Bliss, and have a wonderful, colorful day.